All right. Once again, the title of today's lesson is being self-sufficient. I kind of feel like this lesson is, even though it's something we did visit in the past, I think it's something that we need a constant reminder in based on where we are going the times ahead. So let's go into this lesson here. And it says there are many in the current generation that don't aspire to hard work, right? Now, we're living in a time and age where everybody wants to get rich, but nobody wants to work to actually get rich, right? No one wants to put in the hard work, the dedication, understanding what it means to really start from the bottom and now, build on, the 2 pennies that you started on with. Everybody wants to be an overnight celebrity in the day that the day and age that we're living in. And it's come so bad that everybody is looking to do something, to seek attention, right? We have those YouTube, TikToks, Instagram, all those, overnight celebrities, so to speak. But it's created a cycle where somebody's trying to outdo something that somebody else has done, right? I know one story that I'm familiar with where this guy jumped on a truck only to dance on the truck, right? Obviously trying to get his little, 5 minutes of fame. Eventually, what he didn't know, that the truck was about to go under a bridge. You guys know where this went, right? Clearly died, and, was that 5 minutes of fame really worth it? But we're seeing where a lot of people are just trying to do outlandish, crazy stuff in order to, get that YouTube, get those clicks, right? This is the time that we're living in, right? So let me read it again. So there are many in this current generation that don't aspire to work hard. This has been a media-driven indoctrination in which we are taught to rely on others to survive, like our government, right? And we do see that to some degree, where people, we can become reliant on the system or the access to certain things compared to other countries where these things don't even exist, right? And I think, so that's, that's definitely one part to look at it, but this is where it includes all of us. We're living in the Western world, we have a lot of things that has been set up in society that also kind of falls into the same category. Where, like the question I have is, when you can't get food at the grocery store, what do you do next? Right? When the power goes out during the wintertime, what do you do to preserve your food? And it's funny because I remember the year when the power went out, and it was during the wintertime, and everybody was suffering from spoiled food. Huh? In the wintertime. But it just shows you how conditioned we are. So people were worrying about the food spoiling in their freezers when you got a bunch of ice outside. But a lot of people lost food and had to go to the government to get reimbursements. You guys remember when people were lining up and he was giving $100, this and that, for people who fell into that category? But you see what I'm saying, where we've become so reliant that when things shut down, pretty much we're like a fish out of water. We don't know what to do, right? So this is where, as I said, even though, as I said, it says trust in the truth, we must learn to, go back. It says, this has caused an attitude of entitlement and often a spoiled type of individual, right? Or better yet, let me go even further back. This has been a media-driven indoctrination in which we are taught to rely on others to survive, like our government. It could be like family members. It could be, because you have some family that's looking for other family to survive off of. No, this does happen, right? So I'm saying, all these different things, and it's really nothing bad about that. Parents were going to take care of their children, right? But, you have some children that will rely on that and feed off of that. And, this is not the mindset the Bible encourages. But I'm saying this society, gives us this whole mindset of just being dependent on something, relying on something. And it can happen in different forms. Like, for instance, I rely on my job that my job will always be there so I can pay my bills. But what happens when my job or company closed down? Right? What happens when the things that we were relying on are no longer there? And that's really the mindset that we need to get in, especially when we know Babylon itself is about to crumble. This thing's falling apart. Right? So we have to now get into this mindset as in, what do we do when there's no more of all the things that we've become accustomed to? Are we prepared for that? Like, for instance, when there's no more hospitals, are you prepared for self-care? If, God forbid, because we're going in a time where, famine, civil unrest and whatnot, if some chance you were hurt, do you know how to stop the bleeding? Or if somebody is hurt, do we have those skills? CPR. Right? CPR, first aid, knowing to stop somebody who's been injured from a gunshot wound, stuff like of those natures. Do we have those things? Are we prepared for those things? Are these things even in our minds? Or do we feel that with all the chaos, that you can call the hospital and they'll be there at your need, right? Like we're accustomed to. And I'm saying, if you grew up like me, I know that they're usually the last people to get on the scene. So if the cops are already saying, hey, guess what, guys? After certain hours, we're gonna put you to automated service, and we'll get back to you in the morning. I'm only wondering what the paramedics and other people are gonna be doing. So, we see it coming. Do we have the mindset to prepare ourselves for when we meet that time, right? And really and truly, this is where we're going to be going today with this lesson. But I am going to follow along with the lesson, but there will be side notes, right? So this caused an attitude of entitlement and often a spoiled type of individual. Right? And it's true, because, for instance, when we can't access these facilities, what usually happens? We go into a fit. What do you mean the bank's locked? I put my money there. Right? We go into a fit. What do you mean I can't get access to the hospital and da-da-da-da, my card and da-da-da-da. We go into a fit. And when we understand that these societies really don't owe us, these institutions really are not for our benefit, so to speak. They don't owe us nothing. You know what I mean? We understand what it is. I'm giving my money and Caesar's holding my money. It can come with risk. They don't owe us anything. But because we've so used to it and accustomed to it, we feel like, well, and then think about it. Like, for instance, with police, right? As a black man, this is what we say to the police officer. Well, I'm a tax-paying citizen. My taxes pays your salary. And if you look at the history of policing, was to monitor the slaves. So to feel like you owe me something, the police owe me something, that's the mindset this Western world has given us, right? So we need to come out of that and realize that, you know what? In the end of the day, it's really the Most High and ourselves is all we got. And all those who fall into that category, that's all we got. And that's all we can rely on. Because everything else is, like Brother Paulian said, everything else is vanity. Right? So let's get Proverbs chapter 6, and let's start Proverbs chapter 6, verse 6. And I didn't even read the commentary. Sorry. While you guys are finding this, I'm going to read this. It says, and in the truth we must learn to overcome such traits and work hard, whether in following the Most High or in our everyday struggle, we must take care not to be lazy, right? And really and truly, they tie in too. If you're a procrastinator or have a lazy mindset, this also will transfer into your spiritual life, believe it or not, right? Let's get Proverbs chapter 6, verse 6.
Proverbs chapter 6, verse number 6. Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways, and be wise, which having no guide overseer or ruler, provided her meat in the summer, and gathered her food in the harvest, how long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard? When wilt thou arise out of thy sleep? Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall thy poverty come as one that travaileth, and thy want as an armed man.
Right? So it says, even nature shows us that it's very important to work hard. Always find something to do constructive, as it will keep you from being idle, where Satan can come in and cause wicked thoughts or wicked action. Right? So we understand too much idleness is never good. You know, I say in the islands they have a saying, haunted, kill man, get wanted. Like, the saying basically, if you're haunted, meaning you're bored, you don't have nothing to do, it can lead you to a point of destruction if you're not careful, or caught up in something that you don't need to be caught up in, based on the fact that you had that free time and they didn't put it to use into something constructive, right? I always think about King David. King David ended up sleeping with Sheba when he was idle. I'm not going to go to war today. I'm going to chill on the palace. And it's through his idleness, he saw her bathing, and that's what happened there, right? So we understand that. But I want to go back to Proverbs, and let's just get verse 6 to 8.
Good. Go to the ant, thou sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler.
Right? So when we look at a lot of these animals, in this case we're looking at ant. The ant has no overseer, no ruler, no king, no government power. But yet it understands that, guess what? During the summertime months, I have work to do. I need to gather all the food, everything we need, because guess what? Wintertime come, I have no access to this, right? So the ant is working all these months of summer, all the way to the harvest, and he understands harvest time. I need to collect everything to put in my barnyards before the winter time comes. Now, going back to this Western civilization, living in this, we don't know what this is like. Unless you farm, you understand the importance of filling up your barn to have enough to carry through the winter, pretty much all the way to the next harvest season. We don't have any understand the value of doing this. Because why? When is the grocery store locked? Or when's the harvest time during the grocery store? There's always food there in majority of the cases. I mean, depending on times and whatnot, but there's always food there. So therefore, whether it's wintertime, I can find food in the grocery store, right? Whether it's the beginning of the harvest, I can always find something there. So therefore, I don't have the mindset to, it's summertime, guess what? Start filling up the barnyards. We don't have that mindset, right? But that's the mindset we need to go to. Because guess what? What time is coming? Right? Jacob's trouble is on that horizon. And if we look at what Joseph did, understanding that, guess what? Right now, it's summertime. It may be not as plenteous as the year before, but it's still time for me to kind of gather and get myself ready, because guess what? Wintertime, this year, winter, we don't know what to expect. So we got to take this time, these little seasons that we have to prepare for the winter season. Right? Same, and I said, Joseph is that prime example. We understand we're heading into years where the years of famine are ahead of us. It's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. And with that mindset, I need to do my due diligence, not waste time, not say, okay, you know what? Next year, and then next year turns into another year. Family, we need to start setting ourselves up to be self-sufficient as society starts to crumble, right? Start stacking your water. Start making sure you have your canned food. Start making say, hey, you know what? If I got to leave this, I got to leave this. And I'm prepared for that, right? That's the mindset we need to shift into. Hate to say it, the game time, fun time. We're still going to have a little bit of fun, but we also have to get as serious as well with the times ahead, right? Let's continue. So let's get Proverbs chapter 10, verse 26.
Proverbs chapter 10, verse number 26. So we're just jumping ahead a few chapters here. And it reads, as vinegar to the teeth and as smoke to the eyes, so is a sluggard to them that send him.
Read that again.
As vinegar to the teeth and as smoke to the eyes, so is a sluggard to them that send him.
Right? So there is nothing worse than entrusting a lazy person to do a job. It is like burning to the eyes. Don't be that person who nobody wants to help. For instance, maybe you are looking for a job, but somebody doesn't want to help you because they know you will misrepresent them based on your poor work ethics. Sometimes people avoid asking somebody to do things based off the fact they can't rely on that person to not try to cut corners on a job because of laziness, right? Now, I've dealt with that. I've seen it. A person with that mindset is their worst enemies. And I say this why? Because somebody wants to help you. And by you not seizing that opportunity, you're actually not helping yourself. Because it could be that one opportunity that leads to a bigger opportunity. But based on how you handle that one opportunity that was given to you, the person says, nah, I can't trust you with more. And this is really, as I said, this can go into your spiritual walk as well. The most I gave you with a little, what do you do with the little? I didn't really put it to use. And you want him to give you more? You're going to misrepresent me. You're not helping yourself with that mindset. And I know what it is like in the workforce. I use, work as an example. I'm the type of guy, I go to work, and there's nothing to do. And clearly, there's some times where there's no work to do. But you know what someone taught me? Always look busy. Right? So even when I'm in the shop and there's nothing to do, guess what? I pick up a broom, start sweeping around the shop. Because the last thing you want to do is look at an employer and make the employer see you doing nothing. It's like, what am I paying this guy for? So you always want to look busy. But you know what? You have some people that have the reverse mindset and be like, well, they never told me to do anything. And they're sitting there like this at work. Well, they never gave me a next job. And think you're going to last long. And in some of these companies, they've actually made it where people can get away for a while doing this. But then after they lose their job and try to go somewhere else with the same mindset, they're like, okay, first of all, you have no references from your previous job because nobody's going to vouch for you. And then your other company is going to, during that probation period, eventually they're going to figure you out. And, it's going to be hard getting a job after that or the same job after that. I've seen that happen to a scenario where I could think of where the brother didn't understand what he had until he lost it. And that's, what happens with these opportunities. We can take them for granted and not apply ourselves. And then eventually never get the same opportunity again in life. Right? Let me continue to read. Don't be the person who nobody wants to help. Right? So as I said, we don't want to be, that's what we're known for. Right? For instance, maybe you are, I never said that already. Sometimes people avoid asking somebody to do things based off, So as I said, I won't even want to ask that person moving forward based on how they've operated in the past. Right? Let's get Proverbs chapter 3, verse 4.
Proverbs. Staying in Proverbs. Jumping ahead. Jumping backwards. Jump ahead 3 chapters.
But even the cutting corners, this is what I want to get to. Even cutting corners. So, asking somebody to do something for you, right? Like we made an agreement. We made a contract. I give you the work to do. Rather than doing an honest job and being truthful with what we agreed with, guess what? This ain't even the same thing I ordered. You ever order something on the site, on a website? I'll give you an example. You ever order something on a website? And the display that you showed, and what you ordered is two different things. And I'm like, hold on, do you think I want to come back and spend my money again? So, even that mindset, it's really that slogan, you're cutting corners. And in some cases, it's like, you're building, someone building your house. And they're just cutting bare corners. And then eventually, the house goes on fire. Like, it can lead to not only somebody's losing their life, but just destroy your whole reputation moving forward. And therefore, you destroyed your own livelihood, your own bread from your mouth. You prevented that. So we got to understand that we got to take integrity, and we have to have integrity what we do. We have to stand by the agreements and our word and whatnot, because that, in the end of the day, will only help us to become more self-sufficient. Right? Let's continue.
All right. Proverbs 13:4. The soul of the sluggard desired and hath nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat.
But the soul of who?
But the soul of the diligent shall be made fat.
Right? So the soul of the sluggard, he's spending majority of his time dreaming. He's on cloud nine. In some cases, he's out of touch with reality. But those who diligently apply themselves, eventually the Most High will bless your hands. And I've seen that in life through some of the choices that I made. I made the choice to be amongst the cool kids, take the easy route, get the fast money. And I looked at some of those that took the long route, and it didn't look as cool. And they went through years of school and struggle and sacrifices and whatnot. And you know who paid out better in the long run? Them. Right? In my world, half of the guys couldn't even have stuff in their names. Right? Or they lose everything. They go to jail and they lose everything. The guy who applied himself, worked hard and whatnot, guess what? House in his name, big car, business, hard, diligent, you'll be fed. You apply yourself, the Most High tells you there's a blessing with honest work and integrity and all these things, right? Let's continue.
Verse number 4. The sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold. Therefore shall he beg and harvest and have nothing.
Right? So the sluggard will always find a reason why he can't work. Why he can't apply himself. It's cold outside. Right? And you know what? I'm going to be honest. Like, I wouldn't consider myself a slugger. But I think at times we can have slugger wage. Right? Especially if you work so hard. You have some moments where we can have some slugger ways. So I know for me, I don't like the cold. So, my friend at work, I'll talk to him and say, yo, big man, I don't want to go on no service call, But then he'll give me a talk. He'll be like, you know what? And I'm trying to say this in the most proper way. But he's like, yo, if it was a South Asian, them are going to eat. And he's like, everybody else is going to do what they have to do to survive to eat. So while you're sitting there saying, oh, it's too cold and boy, it's rough on my hands, there's somebody else that's looking to eat that food right there. Now, eventually, if you have that mindset, everybody will eat your food and you'll have none left. So once he said that to me, I said, boy, he's right, And I said, I better get used to working in the cold, right? But always find an excuse. Eventually, we got to reach to a point where there's no more excuse. We got to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, okay, guess what? I got no more excuse. Most High, help me, but the excuse can't be because of this, because of that, because of that. We got to look for solutions rather than excuses, right? Because it's easy to find an excuse. But being able to see the problem and now find a solution, that's how we overcome. That's part of us beginning to move these mountains, these obstacles or excuses out of our lives. But at the end of the day, what excuse will you give to the Most High? Most High, you know, you gave me too much in my lot that it was hard. Most High will give you a scripture saying, or Christ will give you a scripture that says that I haven't given you more than you can handle. Right? So we gotta apply ourselves. Because guess what? And let me read this. So if you don't do nothing, don't expect to have anything. Be ready to work in any season that comes for following the Most High as well, right? So we always got to be willing to do the work, right? And as I said, this can apply in your actual work life, but it also applies to your spiritual life as well. Because guess what? We got to go street preaching now. And it's 30 degrees outside right now. We got to go street preaching. Oh, Deacon, it's cold, you know. Let's wait till the summertime. And I was there with you. We did some winter street preachers or whatnot. And I'm like, boy, we got to buy a heater arc and da-da-da-da. But anyways, let me digress. But the reality is if we don't apply ourselves, we're heading in a time. If we don't apply ourselves, don't prepare to eat. And some will say, well, from the church, you know, that sounds harsh, Deacon. What do you mean? You know, if we don't work, we don't eat. You know, what are you saying? Won't the church always be here to nourish us and take care of us? And I want to show you this. 2 Timothy, chapter 3, verse 7. Don't got it there in the lesson, huh? But let's get it.
2 Timothy 3 and 7?
2 Thessalonians, sorry.
2 3 and 7.
3 and 7. I want you guys to follow me with this.
2 Thessalonians 3, verse number 7. For yourselves know how ye ought to follow us, for we behave not ourselves disorderly among you.
Right? So this is Paul speaking to the church of Thessalonians. So he says, you know what? The way we operated was an example for you. We never operated amongst you disorderly. Go on.
Neither did we eat any man's bread for naught.
Right? Neither did we eat any man's bread for nothing. Even though they were entitled to, because you cannot muzzle the ox that's treading the corn, right? So their labor really will entitle them to be able to receive from the people. It's no different than the Levitical practice. That's what the people would do for the Levites, whose job was to administer the word of God to them. But they were like, no. We're not banking off of that. We're not just, even though we can do this, this is not what we're going to do. We're setting an example for you guys. Go on.
But wrought with labor and travail.
But did what?
But wrought with labor and travail.
But did what?
But wrought with labor and travail.
They said we could have taken from you guys, but guess what? We worked ourselves. Right? Go on.
Night and day.
They worked night and day, and guess what? On top of that, preached the word as well. Ministry for some was their full time, so we had the priests in Jerusalem and whatnot. But for some, it was like, no, we work. And we work. We're working 2 shifts here. Right? Go on.
That we might not be chargeable to any of you.
Go on.
Not because we have not power.
Right? So it's not because this is not in our power to do. We can't eat from the things given to the Most High. Go on.
But to make ourselves an example unto you to follow us.
Go on.
For even when we were with you, this we commanded you, that if any would not work, neither should he eat.
That what?
Neither should he eat.
That if any did not work, neither shall he eat. This means, the church wasn't set up to set up freeloading and have that mindset of freeloading. Yes, we are here for the widow. We are here to help the poor. We are here for those things. But guess what? Because some people have the mindset to play on that ignorance of the church. And what they don't understand is the same way how the Most High won't be mocked, neither will his servants be mocked as well. So we don't know if somebody is, okay, you know what? They need support to get up where they can now be self-sufficient compared to somebody who's just looking to pretty much sustain themselves off the church. We'll be able to identify the two, right? And there's nothing wrong if we do need an assistance to eventually become self-sufficient. But we have to understand that that's what it's all about for all of us to become self-sufficient. If you don't have that mindset, this is not the place for you. Because we're heading into a time where Paul says again, if you don't work, you don't eat. Go on. Keep on going.
All right. For we hear that there are some which walk among you disorderly, working not at all.
Right? Doing what?
Working not at all.
Go on.
But are busybodies.
Go on.
Now them that are such we command and exhort by our Lord Yeshua the Anointed, that with quietness they work and eat their own bread.
And eat what?
Eat their own bread.
Right? And eat their own bread. That doesn't mean that I can't be charitable and whatnot, but the whole desire is that eventually you have your own bread. You have your self-efficient. You're not relying on somebody else. You're not at the mercy at the government. You're not at the mercy of a brother, or I'm staying in somebody's house. You're not at their mercy anymore. That's the goal. Brother Josh, you want to say something?
Yes, sir. Just a quick question. For scripture, 2 Thessalonians
chapter 3, verse 7. We're going to 15. Go on, brother. Officer.
Kind. Now them that are such we command and exhort by our Lord Yeshua the Anointed, that with quietness they work and eat their own bread. But ye, brethren, be not weary in well-doing.
Right? So be not weary in well-doing. So it's okay. We're going to, I said it's okay. We're going to assist them. But eventually, if we start to see this is a cycle, we got to start asking questions. We got to start helping that individual to now be able to, use their hands to bring forth something. Right? Go on.
And if any man obey not our word by this epistle, note that man, and have no company with him, that he may be ashamed.
That he may be what?
That he may be ashamed.
Right? So if nobody has that mindset, Paul commands us. Let me read that what he commands us.
And if any man obey not our word by this epistle, note that man, and have no company with him.
Right? Note that man. Make note of that. Okay, this is what this brother's on. And don't keep company with him. Go on.
That he may be ashamed.
That he may be ashamed. That he may fix up. Go on.
Yet count him not as an enemy.
So he's not an enemy. But go on.
But admonish him as a brother.
But admonish him we got to correct him as a brother. Brother, what's going on? Brother, what can we do? How can we help? Brother, you know what? I even have an opportunity here. And, I could use the help. But when I call you now and help me, don't become a burden. And that's the mindset that we have to have. If somebody's going to help me, let me not add on to their burden. Let me try to help to ease some of the burden on it. Whatever I can do to contribute, let me try to do whatever I can to relieve some of the burden. Because this person's helping me, giving me the opportunity for me now to get on my feet and set up myself. But the last thing we want to do is contribute that, because I guarantee you, we're only going to take that burden for so long. Eventually, we're going to have to say, brother, I got my own problems. Shalom. Right? Go on. And that's it there, right? Let's go 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 2.
Right. Back into the lesson now. 2 Timothy chapter 4. Reading to the 5. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. It says, preach the word, be instant in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lusts shall they heap to themselves teachers, having itching ears, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned into fables.
Right, and this is something, and this is more of a side note, this is something that we got to be careful of. Because what I'm finding with, and don't get me wrong, I even caught myself with this, right? But we're living in a time where there's a lot of people coming up and saying stuff. And eventually we start getting caught up in all the different distractions. Because this is really, truly what they are. A lot of different distractions. And I'll give you an example. So one celebrity comes out and says, you know what? There's a ritual. They got rituals in Hollywood. They're doing this and this and this and that and that. So we start listening to this guy now. And say by the third meeting, yeah, I think there's life in space now. They got aliens. So it sounded good to start with. The brother's getting into the truth. He sounds so deep and whatnot. And then eventually, as I said, you continue to listen because we're hoping for the best. We're like, brother, I think the brother just starting to see the light now. But then after, we start listening to him, having those itchy ears, kind of want to hear some of the politics and stuff going on that we already know, that's going on in Hollywood. Having the stuff we already know, but we just want to hear the latest story. And then eventually, we start following that person, and now that person is leading us into all types of stuff outside of the Bible. You got to be careful. And then you know what happens? We got the next one now. Then we move on to the next one. Let me see what this celebrity's saying. Because he's starting to get deep. And that's what we did. Think about it. Kanye West. Oh, you know what he's talking about? He's talking about the man of sin. He's talking the things. It's true. Right? Followed him. Yeah, and then after he's like, I'm done with the Bible. I don't even believe in that no more. Right? Maybe not to the exact words, but we saw his actions clearly. There was a battle there, right? We kind of downplay that. He's struggling. There's a fight in him. Then Cat Williams comes now. Then we jump over to that side now. And we're like, he's speaking the thing, yo. Da, 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 da. And I said, even myself. And then I'll listen to the next podcast that he's on with that Rogan. And he's talking about aliens. And leading to more questions than solutions here. And I'm like, damn it, they got us. Let me get back on track. Right? So we got to be careful of those things. I mean, think about it. We've done that, George Floyd, that, the bridge. They knew about the bridge all this time, Mark. Yeah, I get it, but, I'm not following this. And I'm picking on you, but I'm not picking on you, but let me leave you alone. Or the Simpsons predictions.
Oh, that's not me.
Right? They had this in a Simpsons episode.
Yeah.
And then eventually, guess what you do? If you're me, you start Googling every Simpsons episode that 2014 prophecy.
God.
What's the problem with this? What's the problem with this?
Destruction.
I'm off course. Simpson now has become my prophet. You see what I'm saying? If it didn't happen in The Simpsons, because it's happening in The Simpsons, that makes it true. Like the word of God wasn't good enough. So we got to be careful of that itchy ear and getting caught up in all these new guys coming up, shedding a little bit of truth with a lot of lies. We got to be careful of that, right? I listened to it. Yeah, okay, good job. Da, da, da. Does it say anything outside of the Bible? No. But I'll use you to help others who may not trust the Bible like I trust the Bible. But I know the Bible is the primary source of everything I need to know, right? Self-sufficient. I don't need all these other outlets to tell me where this world's about to go. We got the Bible for that, right? Let's continue though.
Verse number 5. But watch thou in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry.
Right? So with all of these other distractions and things they're throwing on, what we need to do the work. That's all we need to do. Let's get the people ready for the kingdom that's about to come. We can't be sluggish in that. Right? We understand there's a time coming where, guess what? There's eventually time where to preach this word, we're gonna be risking our lives. We're gonna be thrown in jail for this. So while we still have time, let's do diligent to get comfortable with this work now. Because when the temperature rises, if we haven't, done the work and the groundwork and, gone through the struggle of it, we're gonna be even more sluggish. We're gonna find an excuse not to do it now. The laws have changed, Deacon. Yeah, I know the laws have changed. In fact, there's nothing new under the sun. They made laws like this before in ancient Rome. Right? Let's continue though. So we should be ready all the time to speak the truth to people, but this but this same drive must transfer to other work that needs to be done. Right? So, and I want to read this again. We should be ready at all times to speak the truth. Right? So this means that we need to be diligent with our word. Right? Because it's not just, and this is what I get sometimes. And I'm not against it, but eventually we got to get it to where everybody's comfortable enough. But it'd be like, I'm sending you to Deacon. And I'm like, guys, I know we need to send. We got another brother here who knows the word. We got to set it up where we're all self-sufficient to teach this word. Right? That's what we need to be able. This is what it's talking about. It says being in season and out of season. That's just not for me. That's for all of us. Right? And I want to show you why this is going to be so important. Let's get Amos chapter 8 and 11.
All right, we're going to the book of Amos, chapter 8, verse number 11.
Yep.
And it reads, Behold, the days come, said the Most High Power, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine in bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Most High.
Right? So we're heading in a time where not only will there be a famine of bread and water, but there's coming a famine of hearing this word. And as I said, with them looking to pass, a law that will deem that will deem Bible literature as hate speech. This is the time that we are heading in. Are you ready for it? Right? This is the time that we're heading in. So we're heading in a time where the word itself it'll be a famine. You scarcely hear the word of the Most High. Continue to read.
And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Most High, and shall not find it.
Right? But you're going to have people that's going to be looking diligently for this word of the Most High. Now, why is that so important? Why is it important that we understand the word of the Most High? You guys following me? You guys with me in this? So we can see it's important because eventually we're heading to a time where there will be no word of the Most High. Now, in that time, because, I kind of look at it. We got everybody investing in gold, silver, precious metals, preparing for the time ahead and whatnot. But the Bible tells you that there's coming a time where even that's going to be cast in the street.
Would there also be a time where the Spirit of the Most High will not be on the earth anymore?
Not as long as there's believers. Right? Because we are the temple now. Right? So no, the Most High, that's what they wish. They wish that would happen. But we're heading in a time, as I said, where the word will be so scarce. Now, why is this important? Well, this is important because, think about it. If anything goes scarce, and you got people looking for it. Read that last part again. Verse 12.
And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Most High, and shall not find it.
And shall not find it. So the word of the Most High is going to be very scarce in the earth. So scarce, you're going to have men going to and fro looking who has it. Now, I understand. I may not be the most financial smart person, but I understand that if you got something of high value that other people want, guess what people will do for it? They'll pay for it. More precious, and that's where we're going next. More precious than fine gold, what the Most High has given us. So if I understand that, then guess what? I'm going to invest in it. Rather than Bitcoins and I'm not saying to do all of that, but everybody's doing all these different outlets and looking to invest in these things. But how much of us are investing in the word of the Most High? Understanding that this is going to be the most valuable thing. You watch the book of Eli? You saw what they were willing to do for that book. Some wanted the book because they said, you know what? We can manipulate and can control people with the book. Some people had the book because they understood that this book had to be preserved because this book is the only thing that can give us the keys to be free. But you had two different factors. I said, yeah, some that even when you look at both sides of it, they understood the importance and the power during this dystopia of having that book. And let me kind of pause right here, family. We got these 3 cars. So we got a Lexus. That needs to be moved so you don't get a ticket. We got 2 Lexuses, actually. The plates for one is CVKD. And that's a SUV. And the other one is CSCF. If that is you, just please see security out there and they'll tell you where you can kindly move your vehicle. And we got a Hyundai license plate CHCY156. If that is you, I said just see security and they'll tell you where to park. Sorry about that, family. So I said, you got everybody investing in all these different things but the word of the Most High. Right? Now let's get Proverbs chapter 3, verse 13.
26.
Proverbs, no, chapter 3, verse 13.
All right.
We're going to read to verse 17.
Proverbs 3 and 13.
Yeah.
All right. Happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. For the merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain thereof than fine gold.
Right? So everybody, as I said, everybody's investing in gold and silver and saying, guess what? Gold holds its value and it won't depreciate and whatnot. But guess what? The word of the Most High is even better than that. Go on.
She's more precious than the rubies, and all the things thou canst desire are not to be compared unto her.
Right? So you're preparing, you're thinking about the times ahead, things you're going to need. Well, nothing can compare to her. Go on.
Length of days is in her right hand, and in her left hand riches and honor.
Go on.
Her ways are ways of pleasantness.
Her ways, so in a time of scarceness, and a time of famine and want and whatnot, guess what? The wisdom does what?
Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace.
Right? So if I know a storm is coming, guess what? And there's going to be lack of plentiness. Well, if I have wisdom, it's better than gold, better than silver, better increase, right? And through her, it'll lead to plentiness and peace in a time where there's no peace. So when I look at from that perspective, I may want to, I'm not saying don't invest in the silver and the gold, but I also may want to spend some time investing in the Word of God. Because as I said, when we're living in a time where people are going to be looking for understanding in a time of chaos, people will give you water, people will give you food, people will give you shelter. Let's just look at the apostles, how Christ sent them out. What did they have with them? Nothing, but yet everything was provided. All they had was the Word of God. They had something with them. They had the Word of God with them. But they were able to be nourished and taken care of with just that. So it's not a bad investment. Right? Let's continue. Let's get Proverbs 26, verse 13.
All right, back in the lesson. Proverbs 26, reading 13 and 16. It reads, the slothful man said, there is a lion in the way. A lion is in the streets. As the door turneth upon his hinges, so doth the slothful upon his bed. The slothful hideth, and his hand in his bosom. It grieveth him to bring it again to his mouth. The sluggard is wiser in his own conceit than 7 men that can render a reason.
Right, so the sluggard is wiser in his own conceit than 7 men that can render a reason. Right? So those who are lazy look to make excuse as to why they can't do something, even to the point of lying. These individuals have a distortion of reality, where they believe that they are smarter than those who work hard in anything and lie to themselves as a result. Right? So, they'll some form always find a good excuse or reason, or, I have back problems. But I swear I saw you lifting weights the other day. You know what I mean? It's like your back, it hurts you that bad that you'll go hungry? I don't believe that. I see you moving around a little bit too well for somebody who's talking about back problems right now. Right? But they'll always come up with an excuse or something, and if you follow them too much, eventually it starts to, his back, and it starts to sound justifiable. And then they get you once, and then it's like, okay, all right, I'm starting to see a cycle here, right? Let me let him know that I'm not going to be mocked, and we're going to help you. But we got to be able to identify that spirit and call it and identify it, right? Because you're not going to fool me. You can fool yourself, or because you're my brother, I'm going to stop. I'm going to help you from stop fooling yourself, right? Let's get to Sirach chapter 29, verse 2.
All right. Book of Sirach, chapter 29, reading from 2 down to 7.
Can you start from verse 1? Because there's something why I say start from verse 1.
Sirach 29 and 1. He that is merciful will lend unto his neighbor, and he that strengtheneth his hand keepeth the commandments.
And he that strengtheneth his hand keeps the commandment. So I'm putting that out there because we are commanded to help one another. We are commanded to, you know what I mean? There is that part that we have to understand. But because others have played on that and not looked to set themselves up to be self-sufficient, this system, this understanding has broken and made it hard for others to do what's right and what they are commanded to do through the commandments, which is to help one another. We are actually entitled to help one another, believe it or not, right? That's part of the commandments. Go on.
It says, lend to thy neighbor in time of his need, and pay thou thy neighbor again in
right?
due season.
So, but for the other side of it is, if I loan to my neighbor should always pay back. Especially when, we make that agreement to pay back. Pay back, right? Go on.
Keep thy word, and deal faithfully with him, and thou shalt always find the thing that is necessary for thee.
Right? And if you operate like that, and I can't, I'll speak for myself. If you operate like that, if I have it, you'll always get it. Why? Because I understand that 1, you're a man of your word, you're a sister of your word. 2, guess what? Tables may turn one day, and I may be in the same scenario. But we have a trust where, you know what? Right now you're falling on hard times. Let me help you. But I know based on your word and based on your action, your character and whatnot, you're going to do what you say. Even in a scenario where you may need some time, a little bit more time. But I know you're a person of your character and you're going to do what you say. You're going to fulfill your side of the agreement. And because of that, no matter what, as long as I have it, you can get it. I will loan it to you. But what happens is, continue to read.
Many, when a thing was lent them, reckon it to be found, and put them to the trouble that helped them.
Right? But many times it's the other way around, or it's scenarios like this, where you helped a person, taking the little that you got, and that person has put you in a bad scenario, in a bad place. And you're saying to yourself, you know what? I can't do it again. So guess what? I'm never going to loan to anybody again. Because I've been burned. And really, it's not shame on you. It's shame on the person who burned you. Go on.
Till he hath received, he will kiss a man's hand.
And this is how it usually goes. They'll tell you whatever you need to hear till eventually you buy into it, saying, okay, you know what? Let me just help him. Go on.
And for his neighbor's money, he will speak submissively. But when he should repay, he will prolong the time and return words of grief and complain of the time. If he prevail, he shall hardly receive the half, and he will count it as if he had found it. If not, he had deprived him of his money, and he had gotten him an enemy without cause.
Right? So in a scenario where you helped out as a friend, based on how this person operates, now you guys have become enemies. I've seen this, I've experienced this. Right? These things, I think we all have a story, a novel story where we've been in a scenario like this. And because of this, it's like I'm not gonna help anybody again. I'm done with that. Right? Go on.
He payeth him with cursings and rallyings, and from honor.
Right? And that person will even tell when they're telling the story. They're not telling the story as in, you know what, that person gave me money and helped me during a hard time and whatnot. No, they're telling to make you look like the villain, like the evil person. Them lend me the money and them ask for the money and look upon them and you know how they can do it. Sorry guys. Sorry. But I've seen these type of scenarios. I'm the bad guy because I loan you the money. You know what I mean? And I could go somewhere else, but I'm not gonna go there with that. But I've seen that. Or and for us who have experienced that, even though they never paid you back, guess what? Guess who's gonna pay you back? Most High, I guarantee you the Most High is gonna pay you back. And I've seen that where it's scenarios like that, the Most High paid me back. And it's like, okay, it wasn't necessarily a loss, it was more of a lesson. That's all it was. But the Most High eventually, through time, through a scenario and whatnot, made me make back the money that I lost. But I had a good report. I had treasure in heaven. And it tells you, alms giving, these things fight for you, especially during your low times. So it's more beneficial to me. Go on.
He payeth him with cursings and railings, and for honor he will pay him disgrace. Many therefore have refused to lend for other men's ill dealings, fearing to be defrauded.
And this is what happens. But this is how I look at it. Guess what? Because I'm commanded to help, I'm going to help that's within our means. So you got to be able to help with what's within your means. So I'm not going to take my house and mortgage it for a brother or whatnot. That's beyond my means, brother. That's a little bit beyond my means. Unless, you're someone real close, like, my wife, like, you know what I mean? Or somebody, we have a report where I can trust you with my house and you won't run off and whatnot. You know what I mean? But I'm going to help you with what's in my means. If I got money, extra little money and whatnot, I'm going to take that money, I can help you with that. If you don't pay me back, say we make an agreement, we put it into writing and whatnot, because I do stuff like this. We put it into writing and you don't pay me back after the time. Depending on how much it is, let's be realistic, I'm not even going to call you. I won't call you. I'm not looking to chase you down and now fight you for my own money. If it's a dramatic amount, I may call you once. Like, let's be real. Like, you got 20 grand on the line. I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call you. But let's deal with lower amounts right now. Let's deal with lower amounts. And lower amounts, I'm not gonna call you. But guess what? Guess what happens next time you call me?
You ain't gonna get an answer.
Next time you call me, guess what happens?
Voicemail.
No, I'll answer the phone, I'm not going to answer the phone. I cannot answer. If I don't answer the phone, that shows I have malice in my heart towards the person. I can't live, most I tell us we can't live with grudges and hatred towards our brother or whatnot. So I let that go. I'm not holding you to it. But you can't ask for no more. Don't come back and ask me for more and think you're going to get more. You need to first complete the agreement that we had on the first time. And until you complete that, you can't get the next one.
After you complete it, you still can.
After you complete it, No. But I'll play, let's say, hey, a circumstance happened. Da, 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 da. We can always make up and do right when it's all said and done. We can always undo, and that's where forgiveness comes. You can always undo a wrong. So, if a scenario happens, hey, you know what? You come to me and say, brother, my fault how I dealt with that. Da, 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 da. I shouldn't have done that, but guess what here, brother? Here's what I took from you. I would look at it and say, brother, respect, thank you, brother. All praise to the Most High. There's no love lost. And in a scenario like that, I'll say I'll be more willing to help you than if you didn't pay me back and you're calling me. I'll be like, I got food for you, I got water for you. That's all I got for you right now. Because I gotta feed him, right? I gotta feed my brother or my enemy. I mean, if you're a man that's gonna rob me and take my money or whatnot, at that point you made yourself an enemy, basically. But I still gotta feed my enemies according to Christ. So I have food for you. I have water for you. In an extreme scenario, I may even have a place to find shelter for you. That's as far as it goes, though. What more you need? Food, raiment, and shelter. Yep. Right? You want to say something, Sister Marcia?
Yes. I know you want Father to go to verse 8, but is that where verse 8 comes in, where you showing mercy, you're giving,
yeah.
But you're going to be wise. You're not going to give them money again.
I mean, yeah. And I think because some people will look at this and think, I'm obligated to be, fooled over and over and over again. But I say, if the Most High will not be mocked, and we know we cannot mock the Most High with not having the right integrity, to say we're going to do something and we don't do nothing, all of that falls into mocking the Most High. So if the Most High will not be mocked, should his servants be mocked? You see what I'm saying? So no, we have to have some discretion. Well, you got me once, and according to commandments, I did what I was obligated to do. But moving forward, you're not going to mock me again. I'm not going to become that. In fact, I'm going to rebuke you and tell you to fix up, because guess what? You as a man, as a sister, we need to fix up and become self-independent. We're building a nation here. You see what I'm saying? And that's the mindset we have to have moving forward. Let's continue though, right? I read the commentary. So there's nothing worse than somebody who is a freeloader or someone who borrows something with no real effort put forth to pay back that which they owe. Sometimes a person's character can hinder a person from receiving help in times of need due to their sluggard action, right? So, this is, as I said, this is something we got to be careful of. I think about my friend at work. And he was like, somebody called him and needed help of an old friend. He grew up with the person's mom. The child called him or whatnot. He loaned the person money. And he said, you know what, I'm going to give the brother the opportunity to either hang himself. It's either, I'm going to continue, help you if you need help again, or you're going to hang yourself. And a lot of times that's what people will do. I don't want to say a lot of times, but unfortunately there's times where people will hang themselves. And, when the brother said, when he was telling me this, my mindset was like, brother, you really give the man the money knowing he was going to run off with the money? Because he kind of had an idea where this was going. But he gave it to him. And he said, you know what? Guess what? I just paid for my freedom. I prayed to not have that phone call ever again. Right? And that's why, some cases, that's how I look at it. It's like, you're either going to be your best friend, you're going to either help yourself, or you're going to condemn yourself. And if you do that, eventually you will condemn yourself, because usually what happens is they go to the next person, but eventually all these people talk. So then they hear the story, and this is what you become known for, a person that is going about taking advantage of an individual. And eventually everyone cuts you off one by one. So then what do you do then? You're back at somebody else's mercy. And tell you the truth, that may be government's mercy, where government don't really have much mercy. I have a shelter for you. Right? So we got to take heed and understand that this is the bed that we're creating for ourselves if we operate in that mindset. Go on.
All right, so we're standing in Sirach 29. We're jumping down to verse 22, reading down to 28. It reads, better is the life of a poor man in a mean cottage than delicate fare in another man's house. Be it little or much, hold thee contented, that thou hear not the reproach of thy house. For it is a miserable life to go from house to house. For where thou art a stranger, thou darest not open thy mouth. Thou shalt entertain and feast and have no thanks. Moreover, thou shalt hear bitter words. Come thou stranger, and furnish a table, and feed me of thou hast ready. Give place, thou stranger, to an honorable man. My brother cometh to me to be lodged, and I have need of mine house. These things are grievous to a man of understanding, the upbraiding of house room and reproaching of the lender.
Right? So a man of understanding understands the importance of having his own, being self-sufficient and whatnot. Nothing more envious is, being in somebody's house. And as a grown man, you really have no say in the house. Right? Like there's scenarios where I understand the importance of doing this, so we can help one another and whatnot. But there's a scenario where you're just forced in this scenario. You got no power. You got no financial say. You're not contributing nothing to whatnot. So you're at that person's mercy. And that person's mercy is like, guess what? You know what? I have an attic. I have a one room. But guess what? My brother comes every summertime. So every summertime, guess what? That your room might change into the basement. And you're pretty much just at that person's mercy. You know what I mean? That person, you may be in a scenario where that person, the way they operate, the way they function, is not according to your standard of tidiness. They just throw it out there, right? You're that person, you think you can talk, say, yo, the place needs to clean up. You think you can say that in someone in their house? What do you think is going to happen to you? You need to get out of my house, buddy. You're in my house complaining too much now. You need to get out of my house. So, you know what I mean? And then, on the other side, you may come in the house and you're too nasty. Or unclean, should I say. Sorry, guys. And, that person be like, I can't have you here. Like my mom, we used to have a mentality. So, like, at home, it wasn't the tidiest. My mom didn't stand for it, so it's like by the Shabbat, by Saturday, house has to clean. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Back then, by Saturday, throughout the week, you can throw stuff, your mom may come and say, the room looks so nasty and whatnot, but by Saturday, the whole house has to clean up, right? So I understood this concept of tidy. So my thing now is, my mom would I had a habit of, I hate folding clothes and stuff like that. So I just throw stuff in the closet. And eventually you can't open up the closet. But I never would carry that to somebody else's house where I was staying. You see what I'm saying? Like I'll never say, okay, I'm at my auntie's house because, my mom, I'm too bad and my mom kicked me out of the house. So I go catch at my auntie's house. But when I'm at my auntie's house, or my grandma's house, whatever house it was at the time, because my mom she had to deal with me sometimes. I would get up, I would spread my bed. If I bathe, I wash out the bath. If I use a dish, I wash out the dish. And sometimes they'll be like, no man, it's okay. And for me, I was like, no, it's the least I can do. After all, I'm staying here rent-free. You know what I'm saying? Like it goes back to what I said. I don't want to become a burden or add to the burden for that person to now have some spare time now and be like, what's troubling me? This person, let me get them out of here so I can have back my peace, right? So I always had that mindset that, wherever I'm going or whatnot, I get up, I said, I'm spreading my bed, I'm doing whatever I can do to contribute. That way I'm not adding, as I said, to what's going on, right? And that's really, the mindset. But going back to what's being said here, a man or woman of self-sufficient, that discipline and whatnot, it's going to desire these things. So it might come a scenario where, I came from a different country and I'm staying at my sister's house for the time being. But I have a 5-year plan. This is my 5-year plan. And if circumstances permit it, I'm going to be out of here in 5 years. If there's things that happen outside of my control, like COVID-19, let me not throw those words out there, but the last 2 years, something like that, I can understand them, just kind of out of your control. But then you got to come up with another plan. See what I'm saying? Like, there's no time to not have a plan. We always have to have a plan on how we're going to get to being that self-sufficient, self-independent. Right? Let me read the commentary. So there are many in the truth still living at home with their parents. They are trying to bring forth truth to their family, but don't do so much as wash dishes without being told. This also can be a hindrance for a person listening to the truth. A person should strive to have their own means to sustain, but when not possible, they should help in the home they are in, so not to look as a hypocrite to other inhabitants, right? Now, I know the last example that we gave is a person staying in somebody's house. You know what I mean? I got to stay at, stay in Brother Shamar's house or vice versa. And we're looking at, the example that I gave was looking at it from that perspective. But let's kind of bring this somewhere else. And I want to get this. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 10 and 11. And we're going to bring this somewhere else.
1 Peter 2, 10 and 11?
Yeah.
All right. The book of 1 Peter chapter 2, verse number 10. Which in time past were not a people, but are now the people of the Most High, which had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy.
Go on. So in time past, we're not a people, but now we're in the time where the Most High is now returning His mercy and is bringing us back as to become a people, rather than all these names they've called us, other than who we are. Right? Go on.
Dearly beloved, I beseech you as strangers and pilgrims, abstain from fleshly lusts, which war against the soul.
So He beseeches you as what? As what?
As strangers and pilgrims.
So going back to, because we just talked about the scripture above, being a stranger in somebody's home. Now, the reality of the matter is that we are strangers in this world. Right? We are strangers in this world. So, you may not be a stranger staying in somebody's house. You may have your own house. But let me show you what's about to happen. You know what's about to happen. Let's get 2 Esdras 16, 71 to 72. Because someone say, Deacon, that don't apply to me. I got my own house. I'm self-sufficient. Go on.
They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Most High.
Go on.
For they shall waste and take away their goods, and cast them out of their houses. Then shall they be known who are my chosen.
So eventually, even for those who have a house, they're going to cast us out of the houses. Are you prepared for that? Will you be self-sufficient then? So the reality is, whether you are renting or you own something, according to what they plan, eventually you will own nothing and love it. So when we reach that point, what's your plan next? Do you even have a plan? And that's why I told you guys a long time ago, I go, hey, right now I have a desire. I'm saying to myself, me and my wife were like, you know what, it'd be nice right now. We want to buy a house and whatnot. And the main reason why is because, you know what, we would like to have people over more. We like to open it up, You know what I mean? If we want to, somebody needs a place to stay, they're coming from, say, Ottawa, Montreal, it's all those different things. Different congregations and whatnot. Like, we would love to be able to do that, right? But at the same time, I'm also preparing for when they kick us out. And I talked about this last week, about, that Russian tent. Said, hey, you know what? I might have a tent and the clothes on my back. I'm getting prepared for that. Because we know it's coming. And if we are not prepared for that, are we sluggers? I would say yeah. Because the sluggard understands the time of harvest and is preparing for the winter. Winter's on the horizon, right? Now, Brother Paya, I got a picture. Can you just show me the picture for a second? I want people to understand where this is going. Yep.
2nd Ezra 16 and 70. You can start
71?
You can start at 70 though. Really.
Yeah. Now, you got the picture? I put it at the top or... Okay. Because as I said, that's what we got to start preparing for is outside of this. Being self-sufficient outside of this. Right? Starting to grow your own food. How much of us start planting anything yet? I don't see much hands up. Well, Brother Caleb, I know you.
Of course I did.
Right? Anybody else? Right? But we do see a problem with this. It should be everybody. Right?
I would say that the planting part, no, but the canning, yes.
Huh?
The planting, no, but canning, yes.
Canning, yes. So you're working on one side of the equation or whatnot, right? But I'm encouraging everybody, learn to grow your food. Because, huh? I mean, you can start stuff inside.
Not inside, yeah.
Okay, I mean, well, you started something.
So you keep it on inside.
That's part of the learning, but I'm just saying some people haven't even done that. You see what I'm saying? We haven't done that. I literally sat down let me say this, yesterday before sunset. And I've been thinking about farming for the last couple, as we're getting into that season and whatnot. I remember Brother Caleb, I was asking if it was too early to plant. And we knew another thing was about to happen or whatnot. But yesterday I sat down and I said, I'm going to throw out all my vases, my pots. And I'm going to try to do it vertical planting because I don't have that much space and whatnot. But I'm thinking of new concepts and things to try and the thing is, what I'm looking to buy is like $300. But I'm saying to myself, hold on, $300. And I could grow this much. It pretty much equals to the same amount that I'm paying with the grocery bill right now. So eventually it will pay for itself, what I'm trying to say. If I'm able to grow my tomatoes, my lettuce, the thyme, it can go a long way. And guess what? When the grocery store locks, guess what? I'll still have some lettuce. I'll still have some, you know what I mean? Because some of these stuffs we can eventually start to even grow year round.
Where can you find seed that is not GMO?
Oh, you can.
You're in the right place. You'll get all those informations coming up,
We're gonna
right?
cover it later.
We're gonna be touching on those in the following weeks or so, right? Let me get back on point. Though, get back to the lesson. But this is where we're going, and I don't know if you guys can see this, but I'm gonna read this for you, right? And this is something the elders showed yesterday coming out of, and when I was watching coming out of Babylon. But we're heading in a time where it says, "Welcome to America in 2025." 2025. When the best men don't run for president, they run for their lives.
The running man.
The running man. Now, think about this. When is that? This is a book based on a movie they call The Running Man. But it's a dystopia book about a man pretty much running for his life. Now, what did Christ say? He says, when you're persecuted in one place, flee into the next. So, understanding that they're eventually setting up a society that's pretty much going to be it's a police state. Cameras everywhere. If you don't have this, you can't be part of this institution. And if you don't have this, you will be considered an outlaw terrorist, right? But eventually you will be the running man. And it's funny because we even read a scripture earlier on where it says, why is this I see men travailing like women and their face pale? I thought about that. And he went into that yesterday, and I said, I never thought about that until he said that. So men in travail, right? I would say this looks like travail, right? I remember women were having babies standing up back in those times, right? So, travail and panting, and my face pale. What was I just doing? What was I just doing? No, someone just said it. Running. Think about it. So, Isaiah saw this. And then right after that verse, you know what it says? Jacob's trouble. So in Jacob's trouble, we will be the running man. We will be doing a lot of moving from here and there and this and that until we get into those safe zones. So the question I got to ask for you, is anybody running? Are you preparing? Are you getting into that mindset as, let me start to walk more, get comfortable with my feet? Because guess what? Part of being self-sufficient is also being able to get to where you need to go. And in some cases, guess what? Some cases will carry you. But that's only when it's, it's understandable. But really and truly, unless you're a baby, or my baby, or your baby, or whatnot, I don't have time to carry nobody. I'm saying that. If you're spiritually weak, we'll carry you to make you spiritually strong. But at the end of the day, I got enough dead weight. I got my bag with food, clothing, and whatnot. We don't need anything else. I'm struggling with the 60 pounds I got on my back already. You see what I'm saying? And that's the mindset that we have to have. So we need to start preparing ourselves. That way we're not becoming a burden to the body as a whole as we move forward. If everybody, think about it, if everybody's carrying their burden, then guess what? The load becomes a lot lighter for everybody else. Because everybody's carrying their part of it. Right? Let's get back on track. All right, we finished Sirach, right?
We finished 29, so we're still in Sirach chapter 40.
Or,
you got the commentary, right?
Yeah.
All of that, so Sirach 40.
All right, let's get Sirach chapter 40. Yeah, verse 28.
The book of Sirach chapter 40, verse number 28. My son, lead not a beggar's life, for it is better to die than to beg. The life of him that dependeth on another man's table is not to be counted for a life, for he polluted himself with other men's meat. But a wise man well nurtured will beware thereof.
Right? So, being dependent on anything. And I know part of the curse is that we would have to go to the enemy for everything. But now we're heading in a time where the Most High is lifting the curse off of us. Right? He's making us now where we can start to aspire to have our own. Right? And if it's not, as I said, not in this decaying kingdom, but into the kingdom that's about to come. But it says something here. It says, my son, read verse 29.
The life of him that dependeth on another man's table is not to be counted for a life.
Right? So the life of depending on this system, depending on government, depending on this whole construct, that's not the life the Most High desired for us. Right? It's actually the life that was part of our captivity, part of the servitude we would go into. But that's not what the Most High desired for us. Go on.
For he polluted himself with other men's meat.
And isn't that what happened to us? Right? Being dependent on government and this society and this construct, he has polluted us with his meat. Half the food in the grocery store now, we got to look at it with a magnifying glass or a magnifying glass. What do you put in this? I bought beef, and then you look at the fine print mixed in with pork. This is what they do. This is the game. But guess what? If we got this lesson a little bit earlier in life, where we could settle for ourselves to be a little bit more self-sufficient, guess what? Some of us will say, okay, you know what? Let me buy some cattle. Let me buy some chicken. Let me buy some land. Let me get, in the ideal of milking, making my own bread, doing all these different things and whatnot. And you know what the best part about it is? When we do that, we know what's in it. We know what's in it. You know some of these cereals, I remember when I first came to the truth, I realized this. When you look at some of these cereals and they say added iron, you ever guys ever look at what they mean by added iron? It's actually literally iron they put in your cereal. Little pieces of iron in your cereal. This is what they found. I remember when we early came into the truth, and this goes back to something we talked about. The families that are making the cereals, the Quaker family, the Kellogg's family, and whatnot. A lot of people don't know that they were plantation owners. So now you got plantation owners making your cereal. Talking about they're great. They are not great. They got a lot of killers, hidden killers in them. Right? But we don't know this. But this is what happens when we became dependent and looked for this construct. They got our best interest in our hearts, right? You want to say something though, brother. Sorry, I don't cut you off.
Sodium phosphate, rat poison, sweeteners as sweeteners, so
all of that.
all of that.
Now I love bread. I'm a person like literally I get up every day and I eat bread. And I don't really listen to the carbs and whatnot. And I think I can afford a little bit of carbs. I think I won't touch on that too much, right? So I like my bread in the morning. But nothing more disturbing, because I got a sister and she bakes, right? Nothing more disturbing, I actually looked this up as well, than finding out they put hair in your bread.
Pork hair.
As a preservative. And if not, they put bird feathers in your hair, in your thing. I hate to disturb you, but this is why Paul said, when you go to the markets, don't ask no questions for conscience sakes. Because it's nothing like holding that bread and looking and all you see is hair in your hand. But I love bread a lot. So I'm coping until I become self-sufficient. I'm going to throw this out there. Brother's going to laugh when I say this. I'm secretly waiting for a bread maker. But this is what happens when you're not self-sufficient. I'm at the mercy of the brother now. Side joke, let me move on. Everyone's like, I don't get that joke. He gets the joke.
I don't know about the Dempsters.
Huh?
I heard somebody say Dempsters over here.
Dempsters? And any better?
No, get it from your West Indian bacon. It's gonna go bad quick, but you know what's in it.
Fair enough, Hawk, but I'm skeptical on what they give to us too,
No, I'm telling you. Go to like Sunrise Bakery and they don't.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm also still skeptical of what they give us. You see what I'm saying? And I say this why? Because usually they don't give us the best, even though it's coming from us sometimes. And I love Arnold bread, don't get me wrong, and whatnot. But I still, if I bake my own Arnold bread, I know what's in my Arnold bread. You see what I'm saying? Unless I know the baker myself and I'm there, it's like patties too. Patties a big thing. So where I buy patties, what I love about them, they say, guess what? They have a big sign, no pork. Other patties, a lot of people don't know they use lard and stuff like that to, you see what I'm saying? But if I make my own patty, then I don't have to worry about that. Right? So, anyways, sorry about the bread, guys.
Oh, good.
Let's continue though.
It says, but a wise man well nurtured will beware thereof. Begging is sweet in the mouth of the shameless, but in his belly there shall burn a fire.
Right? So living off the hard work of another is not a life. Only fools can be comfortable freeloading off of someone, right? And I said, you may be in that scenario, but it's hard to be comfortable in that scenario. And yes, money cannot be the driving force of our lives. But at the same time, as I said, you know, a man is going to desire to have his own and be self-sufficient. And if he's not, he made an agreement, and the agreement is he's bringing something to the table. And that's really and truly, because guess what? We might go into a time of community living. And the scenario of community living, as long as everybody's doing their part and whatnot, it can work. But nothing wrong if 5 people are doing their part and you got one person that just, you know, pretty much Mikey, you know, playing on the ignorance or the innocence, should I say, of the rest of us. Eventually, it weighs down on everybody else, right?
May I ask a question?
Yes.
I was thinking about this by myself. I was just wondering, like, when time is come, and we have to go,
Yeah.
and, you know, how do we meet up? How,
Well, we'll get into all of that. Well, we're not going to go into that on
Live.
right now.
oh, okay.
But let's go on.
The commentary.
So, a man must find, let me read that, sorry. And I read this already. Let's get Sirach chapter 25.
Okay. So it says, a woman, Sirach 25, still in Sirach, chapter 25. It says, a woman, in verse 22, a woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger, impudence, and much reproach.
Right? So, a man must find a means to contribute to the family structure. If you lose a job and are home, pick up a broom or find something else constructive to do. This causes great strain on the family and can cause deep-seated anger between spouses, right? So, everyone got that one? Now, I'm glad my mom taught me this lesson a very long time ago, right? But sometimes as men, we can get kind of comfortable and whatnot. And someone said very. But we can kind of get comfortable. And I tell you what the truth, how you gotta have to have some balance with this one, right? So you could be a man, you're working, you're doing all the bills and whatnot, right? Or you're working and you're doing your part, working or whatnot. And your wife wanted to be that virtuous woman. She's cooking, she's cleaning, she's washing your clothes, she's doing everything. You couldn't ask for no more. It's so good that you know you start to feel spoiled. You know you feel a little bit spoiled and whatnot, right? And you get comfortable, and then you stop. You can't even do it no more because she's been doing it for so long, showing you how you still gotta have some independence, self-sufficient, right? But then, you know, your wife, as I said, a lot of the wives wear many hats, I'm going to say. So, they also go to work too. So they go to work, they clean the house, and they take care of the children. Heard that being thrown in there. Right? And you come home and you relax after from work.
That's right.
Right? Don't worry, I catch myself. Right? Because, you know, I catch myself, right? But growing up, my mom used to tell me, if I go to, so at home you didn't have work, you weren't working. Parents were working around it. But I knew there's a rule that by the time 3 o'clock come, 4 o'clock late, before my mom gets home, whatever's in the sink needs to be washed. If there's garbage in the thing, it needs to be thrown out. And don't let her find anything that just you may get cussed for, that's out of place. Right? Because your mom will come home, my dad work all day, and you know, like you guys know, the island people, you guys know how those conversations go. That's the last thing you want to hear. It just destroys your whole peace. Meanwhile, she's coming in from a long day of work looking to have some peace. So now, I know that growing up as a child, so I said, okay, you know what, I got to apply some of this to my marriage. So I started to feel a little guilty because my wife would have some long days. And you guys know my wife, right? She's like doing like 5 things. So she'll be here, Scarborough, there. She's like going around the whole city. And she'll come home and sometimes it's late and she's trying to make dinner and whatnot. And, you know, I'm like, honey, it's okay. No, but I have to make something. You got to bring lunch tomorrow. So I said, okay, here what? This has been going on for a while now. I can procrastinate. Let me throw that out there, right? But it's been bothering my spirit. So I said, okay, you know what? I gotta wash it. Let me make sure. By the time she come home, there's no sink in the dishes. Like just whatever, anything I could do.
No sink in the dishes?
Sorry, no.
No
Dishes in the sink, right? I was checking if you guys are paying attention. Right? So I make sure, just do those little things. Throw out the garbage, clean up and whatnot. I think last week or the week before I was feeling a little bit extra special today. I was like, I'm going to go a little bit extra, but I'm going to cook today. Now, I'm a cooker. Let me throw that out there, but my wife's done a great job of spoiling me where I feel out of place in the kitchen. I don't even know how to cook sometimes, right? So I said, here, what? All right, I've been laying all day. She soon come home. Throwing you, my mom, we're thinking about that. Let me wash the dishes up quick, throw out the garbage, and let me make something. Now, I have no time to take out no fish, no chicken. I'm not into no long cooking right now. It's almost 9 o'clock right now. So here what? Guess what? I remember this little trick my mom used to teach me, right? So you boil some noodles, can of tuna, and you just mix them up, and some salt, little season on it. And she come home, honey, dinner served. You know what I mean? So, it's the little things we can do to contribute to make life easier. And as I said, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's like if everybody's just doing a little, the burden becomes a lot lighter for both of us. You know what I mean? So that's the mindset as men we have to have. Saying, hey, guess what? I'm home before my wife. Let me just try to do the little things. That way when she comes home, because guess what? Even if my wife wants to cook, at least she doesn't have to come and wash dishes, then cook. Because you know how frustration that is. I gotta wash the dishes, and then I have to cook. Like, we gotta, it's a team. Remember, this is a team. You may be the captain, but nonetheless, it's still a team, and we gotta do what's best for the team, right? All right, let's continue. Let's finish up this lesson. Let me read the commentary. So a man must find the means, and I talked about this, to contribute to the family structure. If you lose your job, home, whatnot, pick up a broom, find something constructive to do, because stuff like this can cause great strain in a family and whatnot, right? And I wrote this as well. As men, we have to become prepared and have a plan to take care of our families in the time ahead. So, as I said, we touched on it as you live in a house, you and your wife, everybody contribute, doing their part to make it a lot easier. But as men, do we have a family plan for the times ahead? Do you have one? Or are you going to be looking for your wife to make the plan? Or the children to make the plan? Or, whatever the government throws at me to be the plan? Or, you know what? The Most High will figure it out. When it's that time, we'll figure it out then. That's the mindset of a slugger. I don't know, winter's coming, I don't worry. We'll figure it out when it gets cold. So as men, we have to say, okay, guess what, family? This is the plan. This happens, we meet here. This happens, we meet here. Okay, guess what? If we lose everything, this is the plan. Are we on one accord? You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm listening to my wife as we lay out the plan, because there's, some wisdom that she's going to add to the plan as well. But we have a plan. And we understand that, hey, you know what? If this all falls, we'll still be okay. Because we got the Most High. So we got to make sure we're good with the Most High. And we've been setting up ourselves, because money's a defense. So we've become self-efficient, and we've set up a defense so that when it's time to rely on the defense, at least we have something in time until the Most High tells us what's next. But at least I'm buying myself time so that eventually when the Most High comes, because at the end of the day it's the Most High's time, He can give me that intervention on where to go next, what to do next. But without setting up ourselves, we're not giving ourselves that opportunity to have that extra time. Because guess what? I got to go out there and I got to go find water. I got to go out there with the looters and the shooters. You don't want to be out there with them. And those will be those that didn't take heed of the time and played around with it. They were eating and drinking and sudden destruction came, just like the days of Noah. It's going to be too late by that time. Right? Let's get... And I want to get this. 2 Maccabees chapter 5, 26 to 27.
All right. 25, 27?
Yeah, 25 and 27.
2 Maccabees chapter 25.
Right? Now we can all agree that the time ahead is going to be, if not, I'm going to say worse, but we can say, it's going to be definitely a little bit of the Maccabees era that, what the Maccabee story, what they went through, the abomination of desolation, can't keep our laws, being in caves, have to hide in the wilderness. All of that is an example for eventually things we will face. We can all agree there, okay? Now let's see some of the stuff they had to do when the abomination of desolation was set up. Go on.
That's 2 Maccabees chapter 5, 25 to 27. Who coming to Jerusalem and pretending peace did forbear to the holy day of the Sabbath. And when taking the Jews keeping holy day, he commanded his men to arm themselves. And so he slew all them that were gone to the celebrating of the Sabbath, and running through the city with weapons slew great multitudes.
Right, so we understand this. Christ says, pray that your flight be not in the winter or on the Sabbath day. But we understand during this time period, those who were celebrating the Shabbat, they were killing them. They went through on the Shabbat and they were killing them. Go on.
But Judas Maccabeus, with 9 others, were thereabout, withdrew himself into the wilderness and lived in the mountains after the manner of beasts.
Right, and Christ told us, when we see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, flee into the wilderness. So these 9 individuals, they fled into the wilderness. Go on.
With his company, who fed on herbs continually, lest they should be partakers of the pollution.
Right, so in order to stay away from the pollution, they went out into the wilderness. They lived in caves, and they fed themselves off of the herbs that grew naturally. How much of us can do that? Some of us, we don't even know where to begin. So it's important that we understand how to, and I believe the word is forage, right? It's important we understand that. Because some of us, we're in the islands, yeah, we know what mango look like. We know all the fruits in the islands. But we're lost when it comes to some of the natural things that people were living for thousands of years. That's right here in our backyards. And you'll be surprised because once you get that mindset, you start looking at wilderness like a grocery store. You're like, okay, hold on. In that aisle over there, I know I can get dandelions, but I was thinking about the other one with the big leaf. Burdock. No, but I need a detox right now, sis. I need some bitters, right? So, and you can't eat the bark during the early when it's young. I've seen people roast it and actually eat that. That I know of, thanks to my brother Thomas, right? But we have to get in that mindset. And when's the last time you seen Brother Thomas, if you don't mind me asking?
When he's gone to Europe, he should be back soon.
All right. When he comes back, let's see if we can talk to him to set up one of those sessions, right? So understanding what we can find in the wild and eat, that's a skill you want to have. And let me tell you what I did. You can go on YouTube and just put survival foods, naturally grown survival food. And one of the ones that I found were really interested, and I said I'm going to probably get some this summer and plant them, Solomon seal. They grow very abundantly. You can harvest them in the wintertime, right? And the nutrition that you get from them, I think they were saying they're better than potatoes. And the yield is much better. So I said to myself, okay, you know what? We're going to plant some of those. And guess what? I ain't even got nowhere to plant them. But guess what? I know they grow wild. So guess what? You have little spots in in the little hiking areas that you know of. You know, at a creek or somewhere that you could put it in a clean area that's away from the running water, because the ground will filter out the impurities in the water. So I'm not worried about that. And if that's the case, throw some seeds there. I'm preparing that, hey, if I got to run one day, I know I can find some nourishment there. I know I can find some nourishment there. In fact, I got some in my backpack as well, because anywhere I go, I'm planting and setting up, because this is where we are going. So one, I got to be able to identify them. Two, I also got to build my own inventory. And then, yeah, we can can them. We can do all these different things. But I'm setting up myself that eventually, if there's no food, if all this whole thing self-destructs, I know where to find food in nature, real time. That's the mindset we need to have moving forward. Let's get Testament of Issachar.
All right, we're going into the Testament of Issachar in chapter 3, verse 1. When therefore I grew up, my children, I walked in uprightness of heart, and I became a husbandman for my father and my brethren. And I brought in fruits from the field according to their season. And my father blessed me, for he saw that I walked in rectitude before him.
Right, now let's look at Issachar. Issachar was taught by his father how to do husbandry. Are we teaching the children to have these self-sufficient skills? And this is something, as you're learning it, this is where it can get fun. As you're learning it, you're making this a family event. You know, especially if they're young. When they're young, they're going to want, it's going to be fun to them. It's cool, you know what I mean? But teach them how to plant, how to make a garden, how to work in the garden. And, you know, whether it sticks with them, it's something that they'll always have their hands to do. So me, I remember I've done it where my dad, we made a garden, and I was in the garden with him, and I've setting up some sticks and whatnot. It didn't, not everything stuck with me, but I can say I experienced it. But then when I started doing it with Brother Caleb, it wasn't like this is strange work, like, you know, fish out of water, so to speak. It was like, oh, I've done this before. Now I'm understanding what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. But you got to teach, you want to teach this generation how to be self-sufficient. Because we see it in this generation, they're reliant on AI for almost everything. I need an essay. AI, can you do it for me? Right? This is the generation that this is the mindset they have. So we got to teach them how to be self-sufficient, how to set them up and whatnot. And, you know, to some degree, even just from little tasks like cleaning, cooking, and whatnot, those are things that my mom made sure that was instilled in us. She's like, you got to learn to at least cook 5 meals. And you know what her reasoning was? It's like, just in case your wife don't want to cook for you, at least you won't starve. That was her mindset. I'm glad, you know, I think I got a, you know, blessed wife and whatnot. But my mindset is, if the government cuts it off, at least we'll be okay. And that's the mindset we want to have. Keep on going.
Verse number 3. And I was not a busybody in my doings, nor envious and malicious against my neighbor.
Go on.
I never slandered anyone, nor did I censure the life of any man, walking as I did in singleness of eye.
Right? So instead of watching everybody's business, he was focused on his business. Go on.
Therefore, when I was 35 years old, I took to myself a wife, for my labor wore away my strength.
Right? Now let's check out this mindset. So he worked diligently to set up himself to become independent, to become self-sufficient. So that now he's ready to take a wife. Now, the mindset we have, get the wife now, worry about the money later. And to be honest, with that mindset, to some degree, I'm not, you know, it's the Most High who puts people together. Let me just say that out there. But in some cases, we're at the mercy. It wasn't what we wanted. It's what we can get. Speaking from a man perspective. It was what we can get. But if I set myself up, you know, I had to do this, right? You saw that, fix the collar. If I set myself up, then I understand the woman I want. I'm at the position where I could determine the woman that I want. So I want a woman that fears God, a woman that has this, a woman that, and I have control on that. I'm not at whatever woman I can get because I just need a woman to be my bed. You see what I'm saying? And I realize that that's like when you look at kings and royals, no, I get the woman that I want. Because I've set myself up where I can now do that. Now, if you haven't set yourself up to do that, and, you know, God forbid you fall into mercy, you might marry the wrong woman. And now, she's the man in the relationship. And you're at her mercy. That's, as a man, you rendered your power. As men, we got to take back that self-sufficient. And, as I said, sisters, I think every sister will admire a man that has that mindset, wants to be a leader. Right? Let's go on, though.
And I never thought upon pleasure with women, but owing to my toil, sleep overcame me. And my father always rejoiced in my rectitude, because I offered through the priest to the Most High all first fruits. Then to my father also, and the Most High increased me 10,000-fold his benefit in my hands. And also Jacob, my father, knew.
Right, so the Most High blessed his hands. He was taking care of the poor, but he was also now, because he became independent, self-sufficient, he was able also to take care of his parents. And this is why that self-sufficient is so important, because as I said, we can help to better our families as a whole. Right, Gore?
And my father knew that the Most High aided my singleness, for on all the poor and oppressed I bestowed the good things of the earth and the singleness of my heart. And now hearken to me, my children, and walk in singleness of your heart, for I have seen in it all that is well pleasing to the Most High. The single-minded man coveteth not gold, he overreacheth. So
the single-minded man is not coveting gold. So he's not controlled or dictated by money, by chasing money. Yes, money is the defense, we need it and whatnot, but money does not control where I go, what I do, or whatnot. Right? He didn't become a prisoner to money. Go on.
He overreaches not his neighbor. He longered not after manifold dainties. He delighted not in varied apparel.
Right? So he longeth not in manifold dainties. Right? So the delicacies of the world, whatever the world has, the shining lights and whatnot, that doesn't move him. Go on.
He did not desire to live a long life, but only...
Right? Sorry, he delighteth not in varied apparel. And I thought about that. Because that's kind of what this world has made us get caught up in. The various apparel, the new shoes, the new bags, the new cars, And you know, to some degree, I was like that. I told you guys about, I haven't bought a Jordan in so much years, ever since you had to light up, and then after that, they stopped that, and I started buying, I think I bought like, let me not put the number out there. I bought a lot of Jordans though, a few of them. But then I said to myself, I said, when it's time to run, Deacon, what shoes are you going to run in? You can only bring one? I can only bring one. What clothing will you wear? What jacket will you wear? And I had to check myself with the new shoe, the new clothes, And I'm saying nothing to buy that, but you have some people that's where all the resources going into looking fly and looking good. And I was saying to myself, when it's all said and done, you can't bring your whole closet with you. All these things we're going to have to leave behind. So let me start investing in other stuff. Let me start investing in, you know what I've been investing in? Let me tell you what I'm investing in. Food. I think we're going to need that. So I went on, I think I probably told the story last week or whatnot, but I went on site and I was looking for a 6-month supply of food. And yeah, I did talk about that because you told me eat every other day, that can become a year. Right? Like $2,000 for that. Some will say, oh, that's expensive. But and then in the same month, buy a pair of shoes for $1,000. or a handbag for $2,000. And I'm saying to myself, that bag ain't feeding nobody. So I have my bag to look fly for a season, but I have food now that can nourish me and give me life. So, you know what I mean? We got to find ways, as I said, to be self-sufficient. Because some people will say, nah, you know what? I'll eat less. That way I can buy more. So I'll sacrifice. I won't eat lunch today. So I have a little bit of money now so I can buy the bag. And let me stop. Let me digress. Let's continue though.
3, he did not desire to live a long life, but only waited for the will of the Most High.
The only ways for the will of the Most High. So just like today, Issachar worked hard and didn't look to the other foolishness which could come through idleness. Issachar was blessed by the Father because of his desire to work hard and not become entangled in foolishness, right? So he understood the importance of hard work and staying focused on what he was trying to accomplish for himself. Let's get Sirach chapter 27, verse 3.
All right. Sirach chapter 27, reading 3 and 4. Unless a man hold himself diligently in the fear of the Most High, his house shall soon be overthrown. As when one sifted with a sieve, the refuse remaineth, so the filth of man in his house talk.
Right? So is it a constant evaluation of ourselves through the scriptures, even when it comes down to the question of whether we are sluggers in our everyday lives? When you make it a practice to be a sluggard, it will also translate into how you serve the Most High, right? So some of us, we need to examine ourselves. And, am I a slugger? Can I be doing more with the time that is allotted to me? And, I look at myself and I say, yes, I think I can do more with the time that is allotted to me. You know what I mean? I get it. Work can tire us out. We want to come home. But I think the time that I have home, let's see, I got 8 hours to sleep. I got another few hours and whatnot. I think I could use some of that time to do something more beneficial in the long run, rather than just watching TV or YouTube or whatnot. I get it. Sometimes, we're going to need time to give our minds a break and rest and whatnot. But I think, I probably have 7 hours there. I can use 3 of those hours to do something more constructive, or something that's going to build myself up or prepare me for what's to come. Right? I think we can do that. Let's continue. Proverbs chapter 31, verse 10.
Book of Proverbs chapter 31, reading down from 10 to 31. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband doeth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant ship. She bringeth her food from afar. She rises also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. She considered a field and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands she planted a vineyard. She girded her loins with strength, and strengthened her arms. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle goeth not out by night. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the staff. She stretcheth out her hand to the poor. Yea, she reacheth forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She maketh herself coverings of tapestries. Her clothing is silk and purple. Her husband is known in the gates, when he sitteth among the elders of the land. She maketh fine linen and selleth it, and delivereth girdles unto the merchant. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she will rejoice in time to come. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. Her children arise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Most High, she shall be praised. Give her the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates.
Right? So favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, right? So it says a sister in the truth, just like the brother must be diligent and make sure that they are doing their parts in the house. In modern society, too many of our sisters have learned to be lazy in the house, housework, but active in working for other nations or companies, right? So put more energy in building your company work and whatnot, but not that same energy for the house. And we got to find balance there. I'm going to say even contribute more to building your house. Why? Because when the company is all said and done, you are just a number and you can be replaced. We must hold to our righteous woman of the scriptures as the model of what to do in our homes. The microwave instant food mentality has made for a generation of laziness, and oftentimes this translates into laziness in our diligence to uphold our families in strength. Living virtuously leaves no time for foolishness, but always finds time to do the things which build positively. The sister's contribution helps to keep the house balanced and moving forward together, right? So when we look at a virtuous woman, one of the things we can say, a lot of people will highlight different attributes and whatnot of what a virtuous woman is. One thing that we can say is she is a woman that is putting her hands to the plow, so to speak. She's a woman that's working to build her house. She's not sitting there idle and whatnot. And I highlight that why? Because, today they tell us that, you want to be the woman where you have your man, pretty much, you don't got to do nothing, right? You want to be with a man that will provide and take care of all your needs. And nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, with the time that we're living in, that's 90% of us ain't in that, we don't have that luxury of treating our wives like the queens they are, so to speak. We're the have-nots. And we both have to do our part to make this as and make the Most High bless this. But this world gives us the mentality that, guess what? If my man cannot give me a Porsche, a BMW, he's not making 100 and something thousand a year, I cannot give him any time. That's what they tell you. This is what you're hearing from a lot of the young sisters and whatnot. And half of them are probably making 60,000 a year. You know what I mean? I mean, it depends on the numbers and whatnot. But they were looking for 100,000, 100 plus in order to even get my attention. That is the farthest thing from the reality. The fact is that we got to build together to make this the best on what the Most High wants for us. But we both got to do our part, right? Let's get Matthew chapter 12, verse 25.
Book of Matthew chapter 12, verse number 25. And Yeshua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand.
Shall not stand, right? So as a body, we must understand this is a key point as well as members of a household. So as a household divided will not stand. You and your wife cannot be divided. You know what I mean? You can't have a house where everybody's divided. It will crumble, right? But we got to do our part in order to keep everyone together. But then it says, we must understand that those spirits of being a sluggard can cause issues in the house and also in the body. Those issues of strife can eat away at the structure and ultimately destroy the person and also those around them. We must be on a task to get things accomplished. And that's the mindset. We're looking for workers. We're looking for those that want to build. Those that have a contrary mindset, that even have a slugger mindset, eventually Because, for instance, how they're painting this is that division can come through people who are sluggers. And I do believe that's true. I've seen that on the workforce. But I want to go a little bit further with this. Eventually, the sluggers will stick with the sluggers. And those that want to do work will be with those who want to do work. Like, you know, they say like-minded people will come together. So eventually, this is the two paths that's eventually where the Most High is leading us. The sluggers are going to join with the sluggers. And eventually, that sluggishness will lead to your destruction. But those that are builders, that are want to work, we're going to keep our hands in the plow, continue to work. And while we're continuing to work, we're setting up what we need to make it through Jacob's trouble. Because the Most High brought us all together with a talent. Believe it or not, we all have something to contribute. And when it all comes together, it's everything that we will need. But if you don't have that mindset and you're looking at it and, I'm going to lean on my faith and sit down, it's not going to work. Right? Let's continue. Matthew 24, verse 42.
Matthew chapter 24, verse number 42, reading down to 51. Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come.
Right? So we need to be watching. Not the distractions, but the signs of the coming of our Lord. This is part of us being diligent, understanding the times that we're in. Go on.
But know this, that if the good man of the house had known, and what watch the thief would come.
Guess what, yo? Deacon's going to watch for me. Deacon's going to watch for me. Officer's going to watch for me. I don't have to watch. And yes, we're going to be watching. Because it's part of our obligation. But, guys, you actually, and I don't want to say that because I don't want to feel, wouldn't want to fail anybody. But I think it's in our best interest for all of us to watch. Right? Go on.
But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched, and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh.
Right? In such a time that you think not. Now let me ask you guys, if it was to happen tomorrow, are you ready? Is any of us ready? No. Now, we know Monday they would, they want to do their little thing. Their little signs in the heaven that the heathen are dismayed by. Right? If it was to happen on Monday, would you be ready? Now, some people are saying, hey, you know what? This may lead to communication shutdown and this and this and that. There's a lot of esoteric things being linked to this eclipse that's fastly approaching. But I'm saying, if it was to happen tomorrow, and let's say they shut down everything, would you be prepared? Then if not, then we're still sleeping. Right? Now, you saw what happened 2 years ago with what they rolled out on us. And we were caught sleeping. All of us were caught sleeping. Will we make it happen again? I'm going to say no. At least let's try to do everything in our power so that we are not caught off guard again. Right? Go on.
Verse 45, who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord had made ruler over his household to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods.
Go on.
But, and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink.
Right, so he went back into slugger mode, stopped from doing the work, right? Go on.
And to eat and drink with drunken, the Most High of that servant will come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites.
And appoint his portion with the hypocrites. Now remember a few weeks ago I said the day of the Lord may look different from me or you. So in this sluggard's case, he's like, okay, you know what? I got a little bit more time. Let me go back in the world. And eventually, he met an early demise. He was killed. He died. Right? And that was him being returned back to the Lord. And for some of us, as I said, none of us know our time. So we don't have time to, be sluggish. We have to do all the work that we can and make sure that by the time Christ comes, he can say, you know what, job well done. You were working, you did something. Go on.
There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
All right, so being a good workman in a household is being compared to how ready and diligent you must be not to be a sluggard in the faith. Why? If you are not diligent in life's responsibilities and are one to procrastinate, you will do the same in the truth. Christ will reward the good servant who is on point and watching over the Father's affairs in great care when he returns. Now, remember how I said, guys, I do have, I can procrastinate one time, every now and then, I catch myself, self-evaluation. Sometimes when I catch myself procrastinating, you know what I got to do? I got to shake myself, especially when it comes to the things of the Most High. I have to shake out myself and be like, no, it's the Most High's thing. Regardless of how I feel, I want to be a sluggard right now, I'm tired or whatnot. No, it's the Most High's thing. And because it's the Most High's thing, I have to put my best foot forward. I have to be diligent. I have to, and don't get me wrong, there's room for growth even in that. But when it comes to the Most High's thing, that's where my own feelings, my own take a back seat. And it's about doing the best for the Most High because he deserves it. He's worthy of it. Right? Let's get Romans. I got one last line, sorry. We must overcome our conditioning so that our spiritual walk does not suffer. Right? Let's get Romans chapter 13, verse 10.
Romans chapter 13. You read in 10 to 14. All right, verse 10. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor, therefore love is the fulfilling of the law. And that knowing the time, that now is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. Let us walk honestly as in the day, not in rioting and drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envying, but put ye on the Lord Yeshua the anointed, and make not provisions for the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof. All
right, so it says, so change that spirit of a sluggard so that this translates into helping you to combat the lack of work on certain spiritual battles, right? Now, family, every week, every day, every week that we get, we're getting closer and closer and closer to the times. We cannot, and let me say this, I repeat this, we cannot allow this summer to pass and we have not prepared ourselves for the winter, right? Putting away food, working on my bug out bag. Everything, I'm going to say everything, and even if you want to go beyond that, but I'm saying a lot of the initiatives that the church is about to put out, don't take them for granted. Learn them, apply them, take the principles, and help that to further better yourself and become more independent. Right? So when Brother Caleb goes into the garden thing, it sounds good, I want to do it. No, apply yourself. Put your hand to the plow. See how it works. Understand it, because we're running out of time to have this time to experiment with these things. Right? Let's get Proverbs chapter 19, verse 15.
Proverbs chapter 19.
And we got two more, and we're done. We're going to finish up after that.
Proverbs 19, verse 15. Slothfulness casteth into a deep sleep, and an idle soul shall suffer hunger.
And an idle soul shall suffer hunger, right? That hunger is physical, but also can be spiritual if you are idle in our lives, if we are idle in our lives. 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 11, we're going to go 11 to 15.
1 Timothy chapter 5, verse number 11. The younger widows refuse, for when they have begun to wax wanton against Christ, they will marry. having damnation, because they have cast off their first faith. And withal, they learn to be idle, wandering about from house to house, and not only idle, but tattlers also, and busybodies, speaking things which they ought not. I will therefore that the younger women marry, bear children, and guide the house, give none occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully, for some are already turned aside after Satan.
Right, so through idleness, some, and it's dealing with the sisters in this particular scripture, have already turned over to Satan through idleness, right? So idleness can cause opportunities for Satan to come in and tempt us into committing foolishness. Romans chapter 6, and this is our last scripture here. Romans chapter 6, we're going to go 5 to 8.
The book of Romans chapter 6, verse number 5. For if we have been planted together in the likeness of his death, we shall be also in the likeness of his resurrection. Knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him, that the body of sin might be destroyed, and henceforth we should not serve sin. For he that is dead is freed from sin. Now if we be dead in Christ, we believe that we shall also live with him.
Right, so it says, often our old self was one of procrastination and a sluggard behavior. However, Christ was no sluggard. And we can see that. Christ was no sluggard. Christ finished preaching in one town. He's already looking for a ship to go into the next town to continue his work. And saying, some of us, we did one street preach. We're like, that was a good day, huh? We accomplished a lot. You know what I mean? But Christ, it was like, I got more food to eat. And he just kept on doing it, continue doing the work. Same thing with the apostles, right? They're on ships going from place to place. But let me read this. So our old self was once of procrastination and sluggard behavior. However, Christ was no sluggard. We are to follow Christ's example and shun our former selves, so that we can live with him in the kingdom. With that being said, Shabbat Shalom, family. Amen.